All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining in for our next virtual Jiu-Jitsu fundamentals class. We'll do our best to avoid any wardrobe malfunctions this time around. We're going to continue today with our same theme of some closed guard attacks and some closed guard offense. So just a quick refresher that the closed guard is a position where if I'm on the bottom, I'm going to use both of my legs to control my partner or my opponent. And in particular, I want to try to keep my opponent's posture down. So if I'm the player on the bottom and Mira's on the top position, scoot just right from the camera. There. So if we're here like this, what Mira ideally wants to do is get up as tall as possible. This is going to keep her out of range of my attacks. And I want the opposite. So if I can get her to come back down to me, I want to keep her in a position where it's pretty easy for me to make a control on the back of her head and neck. If I have her in this range, that's going to be the best for me, and I can start doing my reversals, my sweeps, my submissions, and all of that sort of thing. Okay? So that's our basic position. Now, one of the other important concepts to understand with this is the concept of getting an angle on my partner. It's really difficult, especially against an opponent that has some experience and knows what they're doing. It's going to be pretty difficult to make any offense happen when I'm straight on with them. I need to try to create an angle. And in doing so, we only have a window of opportunity that's so big. I can't just get my angle and sit there forever without controlling them, because any good partner is going to realize that I just had an advantage and they're going to try to square back up to me and try to level the playing field a little bit. So I need to be able to develop some skills that let me get an angle quickly and efficiently and be ready to go into my offense, my attack right off of it. Okay? So one of the ways that we do that, there's not only one, but one way to do that is by doing a technique we call a pendulum, where I'm going to really use my hips and legs to create some whipping action back and forth from side to side to help me spin my body. So before we go into any partner drills, we're going to introduce a solo drill that I like to have our students do here. I'll have Mira just scoot to the side a little so I don't accidentally kick her for this one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay on my back, and I'm going to make sure my head and my shoulders are up off of the mat and that my butt is up off of the mat. Okay, so I've only got one spot about underneath my belt is the only thing touching the mat right now. This leg is going to lift up high, and I'm going to try to drop it towards my other foot. And maybe drop isn't the right word. I'm going to try to sort of swing it or throw it toward my other foot. And the momentum of this leg swinging along with the toes of the grounded foot are going to help me spin about 180 degrees. And then I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to go back and forth like this. Okay? So I call these a solo pendulum drill. Normally pendulums are something you would do with a partner in class, but I like doing these as a precursor to that to help sort of build up your body awareness. And one of the keys is that, again, we only have the one point in the middle of our back. That's the only point that touches the mat. Our head has to be up, our shoulders have to be off the mat, and my butt and my whole pants basically have to be up off of the mat. That way I can spin like a top. If I'm down with my shoulders, my butt's on the mat, I'm not going to spin at all. So I'll have Mira step back on camera, and she's never done these before. So I assume most of you watching have also probably not done these much before. So we're going to have her give it a try. So Mira's going to lie down on her back. Okay. So she's going to put her feet on the ground for now. Okay. Her head and shoulders come up off of the ground, and then her tailbone comes up off of the ground a little bit. Okay. So what she's going to do is lift up this leg closer to me up here, and then she's going to swing it toward her other foot and then push with her toes to try to spin a 180, kind of so her feet rotate to the camera. Okay? And it's tricky at first, and now she'll do the other way. So her right leg will stay down, her left leg will be the one that swings up and chops down, There you go. Good. Let's just do a couple more times. Okay. So don't make your butt quite so high. Just only like barely off of the mat. Okay. One more time. And again, I think the butt's too high. Leave it like just so I can barely get a sheet of paper under it. And then swing the leg. There you go. Good. Okay. So that's the general idea. It takes some practice to get the hang of it. I'm going to show one more time just so you guys can get one more look at it here. So the amount that my butt is off the mat should be almost imperceptible. You shouldn't almost be able to see it because my pants hang down a little bit off my butt. What a lot of my students do when we're doing this in class is they think they should be doing a bridge. Right? I don't want to be doing a bridge because then I'm putting my shoulders back down onto the mat. Right? So it's just the very, very smallest little bit off of the mat, so like a nice smooth glide. From one side to the other. Okay? So again, we'll call those a solo pendulum drill. Okay? So now if we do this with our partner, I'll have Mira come back out. Mira's job here is to be just a sturdy, immovable object for me to sort of push off of, for me to do bigger pendulums, okay? If there's a few different ways that she and I can connect our bodies together for it, but what I'm gonna have Mira do is just put her hands up in a position kind of like this, which is gonna give me room to work, and it's gonna make sure that if my foot goes somewhere unexpected, it's not gonna catch her in the face. And then I'll show an alternative grip version later on for this. Okay? And so what I'm going to be doing now is that same 180 side-to-side motion, but instead of pushing off the ground, I'm going to be pushing off of Mira's hip. And you're going to see these become much bigger. There's a higher amplitude to them, and my butt especially is going to come up off the mat a lot more to get more of a rocking motion to generate more momentum to help me with the technique. Okay? So we'll scoot away from the camera just a little. Right about there will be pretty good. Okay? So, and you can just sort of, right about there will be probably pretty good. Hands go like this, elbows in close together. Perfect. And so her job is just hold still. She's not going to move at all. What I'm going to be doing is pushing off one of her hips and doing the same chop down to help me come to this side. And then I do the other one. And I do the other one. So that's our regular pendulum drill we would do with a partner. Now these are pretty tricky. Mira's never done this before, so she's gonna give it a rep or two for the first time on camera. If you're at home and you're new to jiu-jitsu and you're trying to just sort of get your feet wet with it, this is a really important drill to try to get some, get some proficiency at. So don't be hard on yourself. You're not gonna get it very well the first time. Again, Mira's never done this before, and so we're just gonna take it nice and slow. But spend your time with it to really make sure that it becomes something that you feel comfortable with and you have some proficiency in. Okay? So I'm going to come down here. Now I said also we were going to show an alternative grip variation. Okay? So I had Mira protect herself up there, which is a great thing for the top player to do if the bottom person has experience. I've done I don't know how many thousands of these before, right? But it takes an experienced person on the bottom to be able to do that without any hand connection, right? And so if you're learning first, offering a hand connection might be helpful to the bottom person, okay? So I'm gonna have Mira just take my sleeve and fold it into the tips of her forefingers on both sides, okay, just like that, okay? And then so what she's gonna do is raise her left leg way high into the air, okay? And then she's gonna simultaneously chop down with her left leg, push off my hip with her right, and try to spin her head to the camera. And then this leg goes high to the sky, chop it down, and go the other way. Perfect, and back and forth. Good. That's the idea. Good. And so you're swinging one leg down while also pushing off your partner's body as much as you can. That's actually really, really good for somebody who's never done it before. So good job here. All right, so that's excellent. I'm impressed.
Hear that, everybody?
So again, there's our partner pendulum drill, and getting good at those solo pendulums and then the partner pendulum drill is going to really help set you up for success in your guard game in jiu-jitsu. Right? Now, how does this carry over to actual techniques? It does. It's one of the most important skills, in my opinion, to carrying over actual techniques, sweeps, submission holds, things like that from the guard. Because again, we need that angle, and the pendulum is one of the best movements to help get an angle where I have an advantage over the top player. Okay? Now, in a match, there's usually not as much space between us, and so my pendulum gets kind of muffled compared to what you just saw. It won't have as big of an amplitude, it's not going to be as dynamic, but it still is there in spirit. Okay, so understand that your pendulums in sparring or even in the next technique aren't going to look exactly like the drill we just did. Nobody expects it to. We just need the general shape of that to be involved here. Okay? So one of the most important sweeps, and sweep is the jiu-jitsu term for like a reversal, where I go from the bottom to the top if I was in my guard on the bottom. So one of the most important sweeps to learn is a pendulum sweep, or I think it also goes by the name of flower sweep. If any of my students are out there watching, you know that I'm not always the best with the nomenclature of all of the jiu-jitsu moves. Some moves have like 5 names, some have none. So a pendulum sweep or a flower sweep, I believe, are synonymous in most academies. So that's what we're going to look at today. So what's the scenario that I might do this? So of course I'm the closed guard bottom, Mira's going to be the closed guard top, and I need her somewhat broken down. Okay? Again, that sort of idea that if I can put my hand on the back of her neck, she's in a good range for my offense. We're going to stick with that theme for today. If she's up pretty vertical, it's going to be very difficult for me to do this. Okay? So I'm going to first break her posture down and make sure she's in that range where I can get the back of her head. From there, I'm going to do one of these big pendulums, but then instead of continuing the pendulum drill and going to the other side, I'm going to use that to sweep her and roll her over, where I'm going to wind up in the top position. Okay? So let's take a look at it. So Mira's going to be top of the guard, I'm the bottom. Closed guard. And again, if Mira's this tall, the move it's going to be difficult, not impossible, but it's going to be difficult for it to work. Okay? So I want to get her broken down towards me a little bit more, or I'm making her weight come forwards this direction. If she probably wants to keep her weight back more, and I want to keep her weight a little bit forward when I go for this, because she's going to be the most off balance. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to control her wrists. If we're wearing a gi, then a grip on the sleeve is probably the best because it's the strongest grip. But a grip just on her wrist will be totally fine for this as well. And so what I'm going to be doing is unlocking my legs, and I'm going to be doing that same pendulum. So I'm going to be kind of chopping down this way, and the other foot is going to be pushing either off of her hip or onto the mat. But I want to get an angle to about that 90 degrees. And as I'm getting the angle, I want to ideally make this arm go under my leg and then under her leg. So it's going to come like this. So I'm underneath of her leg, right? So I've got her wrist still. Hopefully you guys can see that. And I've got her leg now. And I've got her really extended forward. And now what I'm going to do is sort of act like I'm going to pendulum back. But this leg is going to basically block her right leg, the one that you guys can't see from this angle. It's going to block her leg so she can't step. And I'm just going to easily roll over and get on the top position. Here. I come right over, and I get on the top position. And most importantly, Mira's eyelashes are intact. We didn't even budge them. Okay? Let's take a look again. I'll show toward the camera this time. So we'll start a little bit away so we have room to go toward the camera. So we're here. If Mira is very tall, I can't really do the move. So use your legs to help get them down to where you can make a grip on the neck. And in fact, making a grip on the neck is a great way to start this. Okay? And don't forget, I've got the grip on her wrist. If I don't have that, when I go for the move, she'll reach the arm out. She was going to punch me. Did you guys see that? She was winding up to just sock me. Erin Hamilton's on. She saw that. Erin, you see Mary lined up for that one there? Okay, so I'm going to hold her wrist here so that she can't put her arm on the mat to stop it. But and so this is a pretty important control. Either hold her wrist or hold the sleeve of the gi. Either one is going to be fine. Okay? As I go into my pendulum, this arm, the one that is going to be sort of hidden from you from the camera, is going to scoop her leg like before. Okay? And now this leg's going to sweep down and kind of block her other leg. And I'm going to come right up into the mounted position. Okay? So obviously with Mira and I, there's a size difference, and given the modified quarantine that we're all in, I'd be kind of deep shit if I hurt my wife on the sweep. So I went really pretty slow with it and made sure that she took a nice easy landing. Obviously, if you were doing this in a sparring match or even just drilling, but the person's maybe closer to your size, you wouldn't want to put that little speed bump in there that I did. You would just kind of go through it seamlessly. Okay? All right, so now Mira and I will trade roles, and I'm going to kind of walk her through how to do it. And if you're watching at home and one person trains and the other person doesn't train, this would be a good time for the less experienced person to take the bottom position and follow along. We'll go ahead and just go step by step here. Okay? So we're going to be in the closed guard again. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and have low posture. Mira's going to control this wrist. Okay? Any grip like that will be fine. Okay? Because again, for a second, what she doesn't want is for me to stick my arm out onto the mat, because that'll stop her movement. So she's going to just keep my arm kind of right over her stomach, is right where she wants it to be. Okay? So now she's going to unlock her legs, and her foot on, let me see, that must be her left foot is going to go to the mat, and her right leg goes high to the sky. And then her right leg chops down to help her head come away from the camera over here, and her hand gets my leg, underneath my leg, right on. Perfect. Okay. And so now, this leg is up into the sky, one closer to the camera, and it's going to chop down in a way that's trying to get my right leg, this foot right here. And at the same moment, she's using the power of her right leg to basically knock me over that way and get onto the top position. So go ahead, Mira. Yeah, and roll right over onto the top position. Okay. Good. At least you didn't try to punch me. Okay. All right, let's get back. We'll go ahead and do one more here. Yeah. All right. So just a little. All right, so same thing again. So Mira's going to hold my wrist for my sleeve of my gi. She's going to keep my posture down, okay? And she's going to unlock her legs and do that pendulum. So yeah, this leg, her right leg was high up, and then it starts to chop down to help her move her head. Good, and she gets my underside of my leg there, and then her right leg bumps me up and over. Very good. All right, so that's the nuts and bolts of our pendulum sweep, aka flower sweep. There's more than one variation of it, but that's, I think, the most common one, and something that everybody should start with. Okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and just demonstrate one other sort of thing that we can do off of it that will pair pretty well with the first class that we did on the closed guard. So I think the way that we'll orient this is I'll be at about a 45-degree right here. Okay. I'll have Mira in closed guard. Remember the first closed guard class we did about a week ago, we covered the arm bar from closed guard. Now I can do the same pendulum to get into an arm bar. Okay? So I'll do the same thing. I'm going to kind of control the sleeve. I'm going to make sure that she's down a little bit low. Okay? And as I am unlocking my legs and doing my pendulum, same thing, I'm going to be trying to come under here. But then instead of sweeping her, I would just come over for the arm bar right there. So instead of chopping down, I would just control her head and go into the arm bar right there. And of course, at the same time, I could reverse reverse the order. I could do the slower arm bar that we started with that first time, where I control here and I cover, and then I'm trying to get my leg over, but maybe Mira's doing a very nice job of stopping me somehow, getting my leg over for the arm bar. So I just switch it, and I just go into my pendulum sweep. So as you get more experience at jiu-jitsu, that's going to be one of the most important keys to success, is your ability to link and chain and sequence your techniques together. Having only one technique, and that's the only thing you go for, becomes really predictable and easy to stop. So being able to do combinations like the pendulum sweep and the arm bar as sort of a 1-2 punch is going to be one of the big keys to success as you start to have uncooperative opponents and more skilled uncooperative opponents. So, all right, thank you everybody for tuning in. If you have any other questions on it, go ahead and leave them either in the comments of the live chat or in the comment section of the video, and we'll try to jump on and make sure that those get answered for you. Again, we've got these virtual classes at 11:30 on Wednesdays and then 2 o'clock on Saturdays and on Sundays, while the whole COVID-19 kind of lockdown is going on. I hope everybody's enjoying them and finding them useful. And if you've got any requests for future classes or any questions, then just throw them our way. We'll get them answered. So, thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks, sweetie.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You did good today.
Pretty impressed, huh?
That was good. You must have been practicing.